Fine. No, I just need to vamp. Oh, here we
Beer-
go. We are
Beer
going
Cat is
live on
correct.
YouTube.
Okay, great.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Comic Book Club. I'm Alex.
I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
And we are once again live from the internet, live from quarantine, live from our respective homes / places that we're squatting. Very excited to have you all here. A couple of orders of business right at the top. Of course, this is an audio podcast. So if you're listening to the audio podcast, that's awesome. And we love you very much.
You're not
but we're
missing
also
out on some strong visuals.
But we are doing this live to the internet in two places right now. The first one is Crowdcast. If you're over on Crowdcast, great news. We got an ask a question thing for you later in the show. We are going to answer your questions. So drop those there at any point. And after the stack portion of the show, we'll get to your questions. We'd love to get as many as possible. If you're over on YouTube, don't worry. I got that window open too, so I'm going to be monitoring that. We don't have a fancy ask a question thing, but we definitely want to hear from all of you watching over there as well. What's going on with you? How are you feeling?
For those of you on pornographic sites, Pete's got a window open there, taking questions and comments from anybody and everybody.
As always.
Yes. Now, speaking of Pete, I think this is an important thing to start off with. Pete, this is a big day for you.
Yes.
This is a big day for you.
What do you mean by that?
This is a very
you've been celebrating all day.
Yeah. This is exciting. I mean, you've been celebrating all day. You know what this is, right? What today is?
What is
the
today?
Momentous day that this is? Here, you know what? I'm going to see. I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to try to share something with you here, and we'll see if it works. All right. And then maybe this will give you a little bit of a clue. Here, hold on. Here we go.
It's enough to just see it.
Is it an anniversary of when Tommy Boy came out?
That's absolutely correct, Pete. You just won the quiz that Alex accidentally made up because the audio is not working.
Oh, can you guys not hear it? I can hear it.
It's down.
That's too bad. Oh, okay. Well, this
I know what he's saying right now. I don't even need the audio.
Yeah.
That guy in a little coat.
Don't do it.
Don't do it, man.
Alex, don't do it.
Fat guy in a little coat.
Alex, don't do it.
Don't do it, Alex.
Don't do it.
Oh, God, Alex.
Fat guy. Oh.
Take it off, Dickhole.
There we go, Pete. There you go.
In honor of Tommy Boy and Fat Guy in a Little Coat, Alex did Old Guy in a Regular Size Coat.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I only have coats that fit me amazingly around here. So.
Oh, wow.
Tailored.
Humble brag.
Rich guy in a tailored coat.
Yeah, this is the 25th anniversary of Tommy Boy, Pete. I can't believe you didn't know.
I can't believe I didn't notice that. Oh my
God, I've been losing it all day. All my favorite moments from Tommy Boy, like when Chris Farley did that thing, when David Spade did that thing. I have never seen that movie.
Come on,
what
you've never seen it?
I've never seen it. I've never seen Tommy Boy. I'm sorry. I've seen that clip that I shared that you guys couldn't hear. Though I think they might hear it on the podcast, but we'll see what happens.
That'll be a fun thing. We'll keep celebrating to find out if the audio worked on the different medium.
Oh, what a fun time to be alive, Pete. How are you going to celebrate your Tommy Boy anniversary?
Well, I'm definitely going to watch it for sure. It's just one of those ones that you can't get tired of watching. It's just so good, and it gives every time. It just makes you smile and laugh.
Finally, an excuse for you to watch Tommy Boy.
Yeah, exactly. That's all I needed.
Jay Stinson over on the chat says Almost Heroes is the best Chris Farley movie. Do you agree with that, Pete, or is it Tommy Boy?
That's Tommy Boy all day and night.
Is that Matthew Perry? Is that a Matthew Perry joint?
That's a Matthew Perry, which you lose points for that.
Wow, man. Wow, that really is too bad. Two other things that I want to mention, just because people are watching from very far away. This says Edward Dougherty over on Crowdcast says, I'm watching from Canberra, Australia. Can't wait to see Pete's beard in real time. Hope that it's not disappointing. Pete, how's that beard doing? Are you growing a quarantine beard right now?
I have not. Normally, I do trim it and try to maintain one level, but right now it's just kind of becoming its own monster. So I'm a little worried.
Someone did make the comment as well that your hair is actually getting tamer as this goes on.
I don't know.
Bizarre twist of fate.
I don't know if that's true. I
Oh,
really
there we
don't.
go. No, you just messed it up on purpose, and now you're straightening out. You couldn't do it.
Come on,
Couldn't
your
do it.
your mommy combed that this morning because it's picture day. It's internet picture day. Don't mess
I
it
wish. All right, I'm quarantined for my mom.
Yeah. And then we actually got one other comment over on YouTube. Radlam says, greetings from Peru again. Our national lockdown was going to end today, but the government decided to make it until April 12th. So I guess more free time to read comics. Yes, that is the right way to look at it. It is free time to read comics, everybody. Have you guys, we were texting a little bit before this when we were talking about what we want to do for our intro for a bit, what we've been doing with our time. Pete immediately was like, board games, like board games that we've created. What were you talking about, Pete?
I just was saying games that you've created because of the quarantine. Like maybe you're tired of board games at this point. Maybe you're kind of like inventing. My favorite game that I've invented is a drinking game. When you're on Zoom, every time the red or the green box comes on you, you got to drink. So you do a shot.
So every time you speak,
that's when you're talking, Pete.
Yeah, I know. You try not to talk. Otherwise you're gonna get effed up.
We do this fun game in my house where it's a game where as soon as the kids go to bed, we drink until we fall asleep.
Oh, that's a fun game.
That is a fun game.
We win and lose every day.
So let's get into it. A reminder, if you got a question over on Crowdcast in particular, drop it in the Ask a Question section. If you're over on YouTube, we're going to get to them and read through them later. One last comment before we get into the main part of the show. Jay Peeler 999 says, hate the quarantine, but love getting to finally see you guys. Hadn't made it to NYC yet for the Tuesday night show. Thank you so much for watching online. That's actually, I would say, one of the fun parts of doing this way is there are folks that we haven't been able to see at our live show for a very long time or have never seen it who are getting to connect with this way, and it's awesome. So thank you all for watching.
Yeah, it's great.
Definitely.
And now it's time for a little section that we like to call the collection of comics. All right, so for the stack today, the other name that we sometimes call it, we're going to do a couple of comics that came out the last week that we thought were particularly interesting or worth talking about. We got a big old stack because it's the last week of comics for a while, which I'm sure is something that we're going to talk about later on.
That's
you okay,
horrible.
Pete?
It's just
true.
Yeah, sure, it's true, but let's not celebrate it, you fucking asshole.
Well, I don't think we're celebrating it.
Celebrating it.
With the idea here, though, to make something nice about it, I think it's a great time to go back and read old comics. Because I feel like I have just so many comics that I'm like, I'll read these again, and then I don't.
Many.
So now's a great time to do that, and I'm actually excited.
The official nomenclature is New to You Comics Day instead of New Comics Day is what everybody's calling it, which takes it from my second favorite NBC tagline after Must See TV is, if you haven't seen it, it's new to you, which they used to say over the summer when repeats are on. I was like, that's great.
Wow.
First one, we're going to talk about Far Sector number 5 from DC Comics. This is a story by N.K. Jemisin and art and color by Jamal Campbell. This is a young animal book about a rookie Green Lantern. The
way you said that, yeah,
it was bad. All right,
a little bit sort of gross, like you're in there for the young animals. You're a veal guy.
Thank you for going in that direction instead of the other one. So this is about a rookie Green Lantern who is in the Far Sector at a very far off part of the universe. We reviewed the first couple of issues, I believe, on the stack and found it to be like a very cool actual sci-fi take on Green Lantern. There's a lot of mystery there. There's a lot of weirdness. The great thing about this issue is it jumps back in time and finally gives us information a little bit on the origin of the main Green Lantern that we're following, though there's still plenty of questions about her. Pete, Justin, what'd you guys think about this book?
Well, first off, the art's amazing. What's great about it for me is it doesn't feel like a Green Lantern book. It feels more like a Vertigo book, and because I don't like Green Lantern, I'm not going to lie about that.
What don't you like about Green Lantern? The rings. What part?
Green, the color green. You're like,
the
that's
lantern.
St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, you don't like lanterns?
Space Cops.
Space Cops? Why?
Yeah,
Space Cops is very fun.
Yeah, that's a fun concept.
It's not fun.
What don't you like about it? Space or cops?
Cops. But anyways, I just think that like this is a really fresh take on it. The art kind of really puts it in a different place, which is great. And the main character is very interesting and cool. And it's just one of those things where I look forward to it when we talk about it, look forward to reading it. And I just think it's got a different tone, different feel, and it's not all these characters and the 85 characters that look like balls or weird cats. It's just kind of like focused on this one lantern and her kind of like struggle with the sector that she's on. And I think it's a great take.
So let me guess this. You're speciest against balls and weird cats. Is that what's going on? You're like, humans, please.
No, it's the Green Lantern world is so dense. And then you got these floating little head people who judge everything that's going on and have a weird court. I don't understand it, but I do like this. And I think it's a great take.
I agree. I agree. I really I like this a lot. The art is super different and clean looking. And it does feel like a good new idea to bring to the Green Lantern world because Jeff Johns really crushed so much of the Green Lantern world. And I feel like
you mean in a good way? In
a good way, yeah. Just made these great stories. It added so much to the mythology of it, and it feels like it hasn't really ever gotten back on new footing from that. And Grant Morrison's doing it now, and it's more about him than the Green Lantern himself or herself. So I think this is probably the Green Lantern title I've liked the most, or the iteration I've liked the most since Jeff Johns.
And I will say it does still feel like there is some sort of twist coming where maybe she isn't a typical Green Lantern, or there's something bigger going on there. But right now, it's a very focused mystery on a weird world with weird aliens. So if you're looking for something new and fresh, definitely check that out. Let's move on to another Green.
I just want to say, Justin, don't just say what people are saying in the comment section. Like, come up with your own shit. Don't just steal what Ben the Border Collie said. You know what I mean?
I didn't even see that. It's just I'm just saying what I lined up with my thinking. And Pete, but I would volley back to you a criticism. Pay attention to the fucking show rather than reading the comments on the side.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah, I'm sorry this is new and distracting to you, Pete. All right. As I was saying,
stick to the Pornhub comments that you're supposed to read.
Premium's free right now to help with coronavirus. So, stick to that, Pete.
Yeah.
Too far? Great.
Yep. Just right.
Just right. Let's move on to another Green comic book character, the Immortal Hulk, number 33 from Marvel Comics, written by Yal Ewing and art by Joe Bennett and Nick Batara. Oh my God, this book is so good. The Hulk has been battling a psychic entity / children's show character who is hired by, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his actual name, the Minotaur, businessman Minotaur.
The head of Roxxon.
Dagger, yes, Dario Agger.
Yep.
Agger. And he has been manipulating the Hulk. It finally comes to a head here, or mostly some big secrets come out. And in the process, we get these amazing Hulk mindscapes, courtesy Nick Batara, that are phenomenal. Just so good. Like the regular art is amazing and creepy and disturbing as it is, but the Nick Batara's art, he did that book with Jonathan Hickman about the Manhattan Project. That was so awesome to read, mostly for Nick Batara's art more than anything. And it just gave me pleasant vibes of that.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead, Pete.
The violence and the action in this book is unfucking believable. I mean, the fact that like the Hulk rips out of Banner was
so good.
That's worth the price of admission right there. I mean, holy shit!
Like, are you paying admission for these?
Yeah, well, you pay for the
to get in the room, the room where it happens.
I just think that like of all the years doing Hulk comics, like that's the first time we got to see that, and that was insane. And the Hulk world where Hulk just kept saying Hulk was really creative and well done. It's hard because I love Hulk, regular Hulk, but they've taken this in such a fucked up creative place that I gotta tip my hat to it. But yeah, it's really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything. Like it's one of those books that is just covering all of the bases in the medium so well. Like, it's visually interesting. The art style matches the different moods of sections in the book. They change up the artist, and then the story has all the action Hulk fans like Pete, and then all this other like social commentary and body horror and all these other elements laid on top that are just make it for one of the richest comic book reading experiences out there. And it's fucked up. Like, I don't know what this Zenmu dude is, and like, it's a mind fuck. And I'll tell you what, I'm worried about it. What if there's a cartoon character from our childhood that isn't real and has been incepted into our heads? Like, do we really know? Do we really know if U.S. Acres was real?
Oh man, I trusted that pig. I trusted that pig and that chicken. That's fucked up.
Dude, your ref was too deep. I didn't even get it.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe you're not part of it, Pete. That's why we've been Zen mood.
Man, that's crazy that you don't know what U.S. Acres is. Also, there's a huge cliffhanger at the end that got me so excited for what's coming up in this title. So love it. Everything is great. Next one to talk about, Folklords, #5 from Boom Studios, written by Matt Kint and illustrated by Matt Smith. In this title takes place in a fantasy world. We are following what?
The two Matts.
Two Matts. Oh, okay. I missed what you were saying.
You know, you could just keep reading. You don't have to completely bring the podcast to a screeching halt. Just because
I'm not reading. I'm just riffing. This is all coming off the top of my head, buddy.
Pete, it's your day. We're going to stop the podcast if you have any comment. It's
Tommy exactly. Boy. If you want to say anything, reminisce about Tommy Boy or time on the set, anything like that.
Do I have like a mark on my face? Not really here or here so much, but like right here. Do I have anything?
Is that a Tommy Boy reference?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay. All right, great. So this
Alex, Pete speaks 80% in Tommy Boy.
That's right.
A lot of his reviews are just recycled Tommy Boy references.
Yeah. And I just
new guys in the corner puking his guts out.
Oh man. So what were we talking about? Folklords. Folklords takes place in a fantasy world where everybody has to go on a quest. The Folklords are the legendary storytellers of that world. And after somebody says, I'm going to go find the Folklords, it all gets shut down. So they go on a quest anyway to find the Folklords. And this issue, it all comes down where they actually meet one of the Folklords. Things do not turn out how they expect. And they find out that they're only halfway through their adventure. I like this book a lot. I feel like we've read a lot of books that are stories about stories, but this feels like it's taking a new, fresh take on it.
It kind of reminds me of Fables in that way, where it was like taking those characters in a different place than we'd seen before. And yeah, I think this is, it's very interesting, gets very meta with stuff, but like, I think it's done in such a creative way that it really works.
I agree. This feels like, for me, it's a little bit like Books of Magic, where it's like magical world and real world, and the intermingling of those two are where sort of the consequences are for everybody. But it's fun, especially Matt Kint, who some of his stuff, it gets a little bit, what his interest doesn't always match up with the premise that he starts with. And I've read a ton of his stuff, but this one really like sticks to it in a nice way.
Yeah. Next one to talk about from DC Comics, Legion of Superheroes #5, script by Brian Michael Bendis, art by Ryan Sook, Scott Gluski, and Wade Von Grawbadger. So the Legion of Superheroes have been dealing with an attack on several fronts. Superboy is in the future. They've brought him there. This is the issue. This isn't exactly right, but this is the issue that I wish they had started with.
This is an issue #1. This should be issue #1.
Yeah, right? Because like they finally set up the premise. They finally set up how the Legion of Superheroes got together. And we've talked about this a lot with this book. I understand why they walk through it this way, but it felt like it was throwing you in the deep end for 4 solid months. And now I feel like, okay, I have a handle on what this team is, what their mission is, and what's going on here.
I would throw this out, though. I don't think much happened in the first 4 issues. What happened? They fought over Aquaman's trident, but they say it in this issue when it's fine. We know what that is.
Yeah.
We know it's cool.
What do you think about it, Pete? How are you feeling about this book?
Well, I think that I agree with what you're saying, but also this book is hard for me to read because there's so many bubbles, so many people talking at once, and there's a lot of characters. So like I get it, but I have to build up to this comic because it's a tough read. It's almost too much going on. Like I kind of get overload a little bit. So it's a little hard for me to kind of read as a comic. I kind of get pulled out of it with all the different people talking at once.
Well, I think that's the idea, right? Like, I think I don't know what the actual pitch is, but it does feel like Brian Michael Bendis is like, there are too many members of the Legion, which is correct. So, what if we just throw them all in there? What would that be like? Everybody talking at once, everybody moving at once. They're all their own planets, their own ideas, their own MOs. What would that organization be like, and how would that be different than any other team? And I think that is a smart, interesting idea that he executes well on. But to your point, Pete, it's not exactly fluid to read as you're going.
It's not reader friendly for sure.
Yeah. If Bendis wanted to have a bunch of people all talking at once, he should start a podcast.
Oh, wow. Self-slam. Man.
Woo! Yeah, that's what quarantine's all about.
As Comic Book Poster does point out, we got to see half of a trading video in 4 issues. So, yeah, that's true. That all said, the art is good and the writing is good. So it's like,
I don't like it. But
exactly.
But I agree. Like, it was giving me stress. It made me feel like I had to watch the training video. I felt like, oh shit, I got to watch this training video.
Yeah.
But like, I'm like, why? I don't need to be stressed about these characters paying attention. I'm supposed to be enjoying this. Why am I caught up?
When they finally go back and show the history, and it's just Brainiac 5 talking to them about the threat that they're facing.
Yeah, I was like, come on.
Yeah. All right, next one to talk about. I'm sure we'll have all be in agreement about this one from Marvel Comics X-Men #9, written by Jonathan Hickman and art by Lineal Francis Yu.
Here we fucking go.
You mean here we go?
Break this down into people who appreciate it because of the comic book and one guy who hates it because of the philosophy. So I thought this was great. This is the X-Men. They're fighting the Brood. They've got into space because they got a king egg from the Brood that the entire Brood population is following. They fled Earth and are coming on a collision course with the Shi'ar and the Kree and the everybody in space, as well as this Brood army that's crawling out of space whale eyes. This is just great. Like, this to me felt like very clearly Jonathan Hickman picking up on his Avengers run, where he delved a lot more into the space side of things, picking up some of those threads, picking up the Kree, futzing with everybody's evolution, retconning the origin of the Brood here.
Yeah.
But in a way that's not over the top, I think, and works for the story and ends in a cliffhanger that was so ridiculous and fun. I laughed out loud.
Pete, what's not to like about this? Don't you love science-based rewriting of intergalactic species history? That's what the X-Men are all about, and they have always been about that.
Yeah. That was Professor X. He was like, come to me, my science-based DNA rewriters. Pete, what did you think about this book?
You're doing too much. You're doing too fucking much. There's enough problems with islands humping each other and fucking ghost people haunting the seas. Like, what the fuck are you adding the space stuff for? Like, give us something we can get behind and then fucking tell a story. Not like 80 different fucking things where you're like, what? I love the ending. Brew was unbelievable, as someone pointed out in the chat. But I just wish I could enjoy this book and not have the stress of all the other bullshit.
Let it go, man. History's happening.
Well, this was picking up on a New Mutants storyline that Jonathan Hickman wrote over the course of, I guess, 3-4 issues. I don't remember exactly how long it ran.
Probably 4, because there's a break in the middle where they jumped into this super depressing stuff.
Oh my god, yeah, that was rough. But yeah, they had this fun New Mutants. So it was actually set up over there, not specifically in X-Men, but I get what you're saying. There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. And then other things.
There's a thing with what's his name, Kid Guardian, I guess.
Yeah, that was cool. That was cool.
Guardian's son, where he's like, kick his ass, dad. Fun to see that character again.
Roberto Acosta's being like a douche in a great way. Pete, you must love that. I don't know. Why am I trying to sell this to you, Pete? You know what? I gave you permission. Stop reading it unless we say you have to read it, which is what we do every month. So you have my permission to not, unless we say you have to.
You know what? I'll tell you what, Pete, because you're not a fan of X-Men, I'm going to put all comics on hold for a month so you can just kind of chill out and then get back into it maybe in like May or something.
You wish you had that kind of power, but that's a dick move to do for everybody. Also, Justin, before you start slurring too much, what are you drinking there? What are you downing?
Oh, nice. Thank you. This is a Mezcal Negroni.
I thought fancy man.
I thought we did What Are We Drinking time after the stack, but before audience questions. Was I wrong
my
about that?
Ooh, Alex has it scheduled, and Pete's messing
Yeah, I
up the
do. I
sketch.
did forget to add it to the agenda. I'm sorry, guys.
Well.
Lucy Claire Redemption, #4 from Image Comics, written, illustrated, and lettered by John Upchurch. This is one we kind of stumbled on, I think, with the first issue. It's about, I assume it's a sequel to the Lucy Claire series, which we never read. But this one finds her reeling as after a big fight with some werewolves. She is repairing herself. She is a werewolf hunter. Here we get a healer, a new old fun healer, which we like, which I'm sure, Pete, you loved. You love characters like that.
Love an old healer.
The
weird thing we know about you.
The storytelling in this is always reliably good. The action is good. The creatures are good, but the art is great. Just like really crisp designs, really fleshed out characters. It almost feels like claymation in a way, the way that they're shaded. It's very cool.
And you love claymation, right? You're a big California Raisins guy.
From way back in the day.
You heard it to the grapevine.
Yeah, California Raisins, Gumby, literally anything.
Wallace and Gromit. You're crazy for that shit.
I haven't watched that yet, but I'm very excited to check it out.
It's super fresh. You got to get into it, man. It's cutting up the charts.
Sounds like something I'd like.
What?
Oh boy.
It sounds like something I'd like.
I don't know.
No, we heard you.
Like
we just don't know what you
the production company that makes a lot of claymation features.
Oh,
wow. Okay. Industry ref. Pretty tight.
That's a little goss for you guys.
Let me just.
What do you think? Talk about this issue of Lucy Claire Redemption. What did you think about it?
Well, first off, I love the healer lady. She's fantastic, complete badass, which I love. But also, there is just like a lot of different moments in this books that they do a great job with the paneling. As far as like when she woke up and there was that girl like laying there looking right at her, was such a fun page. Also, fun reveal at the end there. So yeah, I think I agree with everything you're saying, Alex. You know, there's some great storytelling. Very interesting characters. The kind of the way we're learning with everybody else in the comic, like what's going on with the werewolf hunter. So yeah, it's really great read, and so far every issue we've read has been really solid.
Yeah, I like this a lot too. It's fun. All right. I think Pete covered it pretty well. Werewolves, don't trust them.
There you go.
Can't trust.
Next one from Marvel Comics, Star #3, written by Kelly Thompson and art by Javier Pina and Felipe Andrade. This is following the rise of maybe a new hero, maybe a new villain in the Marvel Universe. She is an antagonist of Captain Marvel. She has been infected isn't the right word, but embedded, the reality gem, the reality stone has been embedded with her. She can't quite figure it out yet, but she's slowly learning to use her reality bending powers. This issue, she tangles with Wanda Maximoff herself, as well as Jessica Jones, and a little bit with Captain Marvel towards the end, as well as the Black Order of all people. I like this title. I like how this is structured, and I'm really interested to see where this character is going.
Yeah, I agree. It feels very different from other books. Like, you really feel for the main character, Ripley, who she doesn't know what's happening to her, and she gives into impulses both to be a hero, but also to be like, oh, I'm sick of being hassled by all these people telling me what to do. And so she's like, oh, I'm going to fight Carol Danvers. Like, it's good stuff.
Yeah, I really I liked Scarlet Witch in this because, you know, Captain Marvel was just punching her and just being like, you know, and I like how Scarlet Witch was trying to connect with her first, which is great. And yeah, I think it's an interesting kind of take on an old trope, but I do appreciate the art and the storytelling in a way that's really moving this forward in a great pace. I think this is a solid book.
In the comment section, Bilal Alain says it reminds him of The Hood, which I agree completely. The Hood, the book, probably Brian K. Vaughan from, like, I want to say 10 years ago, which had the same thing where it was a villain, but also he was sort of doing stuff. You were on his side a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, great book. Definitely pick it up. Moving over to a DC comic book, Justice League Dark #21, story by Ram V. Ram 5 and Jason Tynan 4. That's a pretty rude to be like, I'm one more than you, James Tynion, but you know what, whatever.
Confident.
Script by Ram 5 or Ram V. Pencils by Alvaro Martinez Bueno. This is kicking off, well, I guess last issue kicked off a new arc for Justice League Dark. They are now dealing with the rot. They're in Swamp Thing's world, dealing with Abigail Arcane, and as it turns out, spoiler at the end of the issue, Anton Arcane, though I think you could kind of see that coming. But it leans into what is so good about this book, which is absolute actual horror in a superhero context.
Yeah, I mean, I love this team. You know, you're kind of dealing with the Magic team. You got Constantine. You know, you got Wonder Woman, and I just think it's fun to kind of tell this kind of creepy story with this group. I think the art's great, and it's creepy and that kind of like weird floating heart thing, and with the whole like key, but you put it around before you turn it. I thought it was really creative and fun, and I think it's kind of a nice kind of break from the kind of Justice League kind of comic that you get. So I think it's great.
I thought for sure, Pete, you were going to bring up the Bohemian Rhapsody ref that Zatanna does in this book.
Oh yeah,
that fell right over your plate. I love the way the art sort of steps up more here in issues past. Like a lot of like different style sequences remind me of like the Batwoman title from back in the day, where it's like different ways of just showing the panels. And yeah, is there a romance between Zatanna and Constantine?
I think always, right? Like,
that felt like it was getting to a place.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe she'll say like UIVL.
Oh God!
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about? I love you.
I know what you're talking about. Just the backwards talk drives me nuts. I will say that Bohemian Rhapsody bit was the first time that I was like, I am enjoying this backwards talk. That's
fun. How magic works, Alex. It's not her fault.
Okay. Sorry, Zatanna. Next one to talk about, you know what? I think we can skip over this. We were going to talk about Punisher Soviet #6 from Marvel Comics, written by Garth Ennis and pencils by Jason Burrows, but I don't think there's a reason to talk about it. Right?
No fans.
Punch your screen, man. I'm punching your screen. You feel that?
He does feel. Oh wow.
Wait, try it again. I think we can do this. This will be a good
acting. That's
You're going the wrong way on my screen.
Oh, am I? Okay, wait. Try one more time. Just punch.
Yeah.
There we go. I
really
hope if you're listening on the audio podcast, you like that fun physical bit for the cameras.
Real Three Stooges energy over here.
Let's talk about this. The Punisher has lost his friend. His Russian friend was killed the last issue, and he is dealing with the aftermath the only way he knows how, by forcing a man to skin another man alive. Jesus Christ, this was so over the top gruesome, even for a Punisher Max book.
Come on.
It was hard to read. Like, Pete, you talk about all the time being like, there was somebody a little scantily dressed. I can't read this on the subway. This, I was sitting in my own home and being like, I hope nobody sees me. This is terrible.
Wow.
No, you can show that off to people.
I showed it off to my 5-year-old, and he was like, that's not how you skin a man.
Yeah. But
he's used the wrong guy for that.
As we've already proven over these weeks, Milo's up to some shit. He's got shit going on.
Yeah. Things are getting real dark around here.
Yeah.
Talk about this book, Pete. This is the last issue of Garth Ennis's current run. How'd you feel about it?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I also really liked the little back matter in the back where they got to kind of talk about Garth Ennis and his writing and how there's more coming. So that's very excited. Hopefully more coming. But yeah, this is great. This is the fact that, you got to see a softer side of Punisher in this issue. You know, he goes to the bar, has a drink for his friend. Like, this was some touching stuff. But also, like, I loved he gave him a real burial, even though, he shot some people. And we also got a flashback to the cliff
fucked up, so horrifying. He really makes those poor guys. I mean, were they even bad guys?
Yes,
I don't know.
They were. Yes, they were.
They seemed not the worst guys. They didn't seem like the worst guys.
No. They were the ones like being a real douche to everybody in their camp, being like, we gotta go get him, like treating people really mean. And like they're 3 like kingpins, like sons of kingpins that are like looking to take over the business and shit. So yeah, they got what they deserve.
It's crazy to me that you're like, there's too much going on in X-Men, and I read literally any Garth Ennis Punisher book, and I'm like, I don't know, he's killing some guys and skinning them. I don't know who.
It's all in the same arc, you asshole. Isn't 3?
Well, but what I'm saying is like you you get lost in X-Men books, which doesn't happen to me. I get lost in Punisher books, which doesn't happen to you. You're like, well, that was the criminal from the first issue who stepped on the Punisher's foot, and we haven't seen him for 6 issues, and that's why he had to have his head turned upside down.
His name is the Hot Stepper, Alex, and he deserved to have his spine shoved into his asshole or whatever the Punisher's going to do to him.
Honestly, the Punisher has the best.
Come on, that walk away being like, yeah, tell him the Punisher made you do it. See how that works for you. I mean, come on, that's great. That's a great
Punisher line. What I love about Punisher villains is like, you think about who are his big bad guys. There's Barracuda, and his thing is he's large and he hates the Punisher. There's Jigsaw, who has a messed up face and hates the Punisher. There's Bullseye, maybe, though that's kind of like a Daredevil villain. Kingpin, also a Daredevil villain. But most of these guys are like, my main characteristic is I hate the Punisher and I kill people. The end.
I mean, all of Punisher's villains are like regular people who commit crimes, or like senators who go too far and commit crimes.
Yeah, exactly.
And so
senators.
Most people need to pay, man.
Yeah. And well, don't worry. I've seen enough in this issue to feel like I watched them pay a little bit. I thought it was weird at the end when the Punisher's like, haven't had a drink in 18 years or whatever. And he has a little.
I almost lost it because he said the year I was born. He said 1976. Well,
do you think that was on purpose?
I don't think so, but it was cool.
Maybe he's your father. Maybe he hasn't had a drink. Maybe he hasn't had a drink since he had you. That
would be amazing.
Yeah.
Next Castle
in the Barracuda book, you're going to come in and you're going to be like, Dad,
Dad, teach me the ways,
Mr. Castle. All right, let's move on.
Why didn't you invite me to the picnic, Dad?
I wanted to die at the picnic for you, Father. Image Comics Heart Attack #5, written and created by Sean Kittleston, art and created by Eric Zawadski. This takes place not exactly in a mutant world, but it's a world where people kind of have mutant powers. They are illegal. A bunch of folks have come together at a club. They are being sponsored by a guy who wants to change legislation. And this issue, there's a lot of machinations going on where people are figuring out what side they're on.
It's not like a very middle issue.
Yes, I agree. I think we like the first issue quite a bit. This did feel like an issue that was on its way to something else.
Also, it was tough because this felt very much like the other book where it was like the two people touch and then they're repelled, like near each other. They get powers. It was the exact same setup. They were at this bar and the dude was creepy. They walked downstairs and like touched and hung out. So like I think it's I really like the first issue. I think it's very interesting, but like I'm hoping
I feel like it seems like the same book because you just described the same book.
No.
No, he's talking about that other one with the couple and
the Mags Massaggio book.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right, gotcha. Very similar concepts, though. So yes, you are.
But I will say, and I think Pete, the romantic comedy or the romance of this book, I think, is what sets it apart a little bit and has it feeling. That's what I like about it. So I think you like that as our resident rom-com expert.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for more. I don't want to just have one issue just because it was similar to, you know what I mean? Like that's got to happen sometimes.
Pete, real quick, as a huge Punisher fan and a huge rom-com fan, what if there was a Punisher rom-com? Like, how would you like that?
No, you can't do that.
You want to keep your peanut butter and chocolate separate.
That's right. Yeah.
When Punisher met guns, what about that?
Oh, think about that. What a meet cute.
Can men and guns be friends? Let's find out.
Good.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Anyway, this is good. I will mention I like the art quite a bit in this book, and I think the coloring in particular is very nice. I didn't note down who did that, but I think it's a good package, and particularly if you're looking for something a little off the beaten path, definitely check that out. 2 more books, and then we're going to get your questions. So please do, if you're on Crowdcast, get them in. If you're on YouTube, just drop them in the comments. I'm keeping one eye on those, and we'll get to those in a moment. But Action Comics number 1021 from DC Comics, written by Brian Michael Bendis, pencils by John John Romita Jr. This is following up on the arc where Lex Luthor thinks he has finally come up with a plan to kill Superman. He's going to use Red Cloud, who has been powdered up. He's going to work with Leviathan to take down not just him, but the Justice League by having an enormous fight in the middle of Metropolis. Guess what? Spoiler, it does not work. They do not actually kill Superman. Very surprising, but that's how it turns out. I know. The other thing that's surprising, which we did talk about on the stack, John Romita Jr., amazing artist. Yes. Absolutely fantastic artist. Does incredible work here with Klaus Janson on inks in this book. Still doesn't know what a gorilla looks like.
Oh, I wasn't going to bring it up.
You weren't going to bring it up?
I wasn't going to bring it up. It bothered
me when I got to that page. Same thing. I was like, okay, there's much less Gorilla Grodd here, but it looks like a big Furby or something. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Isn't that a little more horrifying?
I mean,
Furby Grodd?
Yeah. That all said, I thought this was a good issue. It does actually put Superman in danger, which is a really hard thing to do. And I even like the stuff that they're doing with Leviathan here. I feel like since we've gotten past Event Leviathan, it's been very interesting to see what they've done with this character.
Well, I don't know. Yeah. My take on this book felt like trying to cram in all this current DC continuity into the same title, where it was like, wait, what? And it feels like Leviathan is like the guy, like your friend who has a friend that they're like, hey, you got to hang out with Joe. He's so fun. But like, is Joe fun? Like, is Leviathan fun? Like, why are we keep having to hang out with Leviathan?
You feel like they're poochieing him a little bit?
Exactly. It's a press and it's Bendis's baby. So it's like, it feels like, what did Leviathan really have to do here except for be a bigger bad than Lex Luthor in this situation?
Mm-hmm. He did have a very large ship that he put over Metropolis, which was pretty cool. It was very low. It was very close to the ground. It was,
and like that's hard. As from a piloting standpoint, that was very cool.
Yeah,
I did want to say, we were talking about the gorilla a little bit, but like the panel where like Superman's like flying and then like the red kind of like wraps itself around him and pulls him back was really kind of cool and very powerful to see. I really enjoyed that.
Justin, what did you think about Connor Kent being back in the classic? Buzz cut on the side. He's got the little bit of a fade going on. He's got the cool jacket. You love shit like that.
I do. I loved classic Superboy. Impulse was here, and it felt like they're from a different world or something. Like, why? What's up?
I think that's just happening in Teen Titans. I don't know, or Young Justice or something like that. Probably Young Justice.
I like those characters a lot, so I was happy to see them there. And I was like, oh, that's the interesting stuff. Like old school Superboy was great. Tactile telekinesis, great power.
Love it. I love it. I love how he says that all the time.
It does. Well, you wanted people to know what's up. It's like if the Punisher's always like, I shoot guns, I shoot bullets at people and kill them in my way.
Yeah. Or if Psylocke came up and you're like, I know that's your psychic knife, but is it the sum totality of your psychic powers or what's going on there?
Exactly.
What's happening? Last one we're going to talk about from Marvel Comics, Wolverine #2, written by Benjamin Percy and art by Adam Kubert. This is, so there's a new drug called pollen that is being made out of pieces of krakoa, is being sold as a psychedelic all over the world. Wolverine has become embroiled in it. Bishop has gone after him. Things have gone horribly wrong, and he killed most of the X-Men he was with. Granted, they're being brought back. But this issue, he teams up with a rowdy police detective with a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, who I like that guy. It was it's sort of sad. I like this book is good though. It feels like a 70s film version of Wolverine, like who doesn't know what's happening and is trying to figure it out.
Pete, you're shaking your head here.
Yeah, all I want to do is love this book, but Hickman's kind of ruined that for me with all the fucking nonsense going on. I can't even enjoy a Wolverine book because there's so much crazy shit happening. I don't know what's going on.
This is no crazier than any other Wolverine book.
That's
Wolverine.
Not true.
What are you talking about? Wolverine went under a different name in Madripoor. That he was just like, oh, now he does this, and it's like now he goes to Japan.
Now I'm Patch. Nobody knows who I am.
No, because there's this thing of like, oh yeah, I went crazy, killed a bunch of people, but it's okay because we can just pot them and then have them reborn. But maybe they won't remember shit, but maybe they will. Also, there's this ghost, and then there's and then there's like underwater cable. I don't understand. There's too much shit.
Cable? What are you talking about?
Talking about there's a bunch of underwater bullshit going on in this.
Yeah, but that wasn't Cable. That was Kitty Pryde under the water because she's supposed to be dead. So it was like pirate ghost Kitty Pryde, which
Cool.
I hate the idea that Kitty Pryde might be dead, but I like that quite a bit. I also liked quite a bit the bit where Wolverine goes up to Cyclops and he's like, listen, I'm sorry I killed Jean. I didn't mean to do it, right? And Cyclops doesn't say anything, walks away because to the point of what you're talking about, like we've discussed a lot that there are problems with the cost of killing everybody off and bringing them back constantly. I like that there's still an emotional weight there, that Cyclops is still upset in the middle of everything.
Well, and
that's going on.
What I thought about that was, if I were Cyclops, I'd be like, God, what if it stops working? What if the whole regeneration thing stops working? Everyone's like, just has now accepted this technology is happening. And if it just doesn't happen suddenly, then it's like if the internet stopped for us right now, we'd lose our fucking minds.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
I
definitely lose my mind.
Well, I just feel that like, okay, so the X-Men are dealing drugs now. So like there's this pollen issue.
They're not dealing drugs. They're trying to stop the drug trade.
All right, whatever. They're giving people
whatever
drugs.
There's a difference between dealing drugs and trying to stop people from dealing drugs.
Or did they, as part of the deal?
But not in this city, according to Pete LePage. What's the difference between the cops and the drug dealers? You ask me nothing.
You done? Can I talk?
Gritty.
Just a body bag and a bullet.
Space cops.
Is it true that the X-Men island to buy their freedom gave the everybody else a bunch of drugs? Is that true or not?
Yeah, but like the Tylenol
pharmaceuticals.
Shut the fuck up, then. It is true. They are drug dealers, motherfucker. Shut the fuck up.
Wow, we're getting into some hot takes about the pharmaceutical industry from Pete LePage.
Oh my God. Well, that is
everybody this shit, and then you're like, oh, they're not drug dealers.
Listen, I just want to, before we move on here, Aaron in the comments says, Alex is a cop. I just want to mention, if any of you kids want to buy drugs, just let me know. I'm happy to sell them to you. You just got to say the word. All right.
Yeah. And come on. He ingratiated himself with that Tommy Boy reference. He's clearly one of us young people. Let's just get some drugs from him.
Yeah. Drugged up guy in a tiny jacket. Right, Pete? Pete loves this. That is it for the stack. We are going to move on with our next section, which is my favorite section because you all make it up and drop it like it's hot. You ask a question. It is your audience questions. We got a couple of them over on YouTube. I am going to go to Crowdcast first, but we're going to try to go back and forth here.
Yes.
Oh boy. I think I know what we are going to start with here, but I'm going to click into it anyway. This is from Kevin. The star is my destination. What are your favorite legacy characters or other cases where the legacy was better than the original? Now, Stars My Destination, that is the Starman quiz, right?
That unlocks the Starman quiz. So, Kevin, getting back into it. Week 2. Kevin, are you ready? I think we're going to invite you into the stream.
Yeah, I'm going to try to set that up here. Find Kevin's name. Kevin, if you are ready to come in, if you don't want to come in for any reason, just let us know.
If you're doing something weird, Kevin.
Yeah, otherwise,
let's know if you're doing something weird.
Put on at least a shirt. You don't necessarily have to put on pants.
Put on at least, but take off your second tie, leaving you with only one tie before you come into our stream.
He said he doesn't have a tie on today.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, no tie. Hey, there he is. Hey, Kevin, what's going on?
I am doing my Doctor Who cosplay.
Nice.
Excellent.
Nice.
Kevin, thanks so much for coming on. In case you didn't listen to the last podcast, in case you weren't here last week, we do have a secret Starman quiz that's going on, courtesy Mr. Justin Tyler. So at this point, Kevin has unlocked it with the key phrase. He tried one question last week, failed at the first question. I think he knows what the answer is, but Justin, take it away from here.
Yes. So Starman, one of my favorite characters from DC Comics, hasn't been running for a while, but this is the classic 82 issue run from back in the day. And the first question, just to establish the rules, you can always get a second guess or a clue by slagging off the Punisher or Cypher to Pete and Alex. And you can't use the same slag off twice. You got to get creative with your insults. And you have to look P and Alex in their beady little eyes when you say it. Question number 1. The Jack Knight Starman debuted during which DC event?
0 Hour.
0 Hour is correct. Very good. The actual first issue of the Starman book was issue 0. So put that's sort of a ding on Pete right there. Question number 2.
That's the one where David was killed, wasn't it?
Yes, you are correct. Good. Because you got to brush up, because I will say, as I reread these questions, they're pretty difficult at certain points.
Can I also mention, I like the fact that Kevin came prepared with a more professional microphone this week. I like that quite a bit.
Yeah, I would argue more professional than maybe even ours.
Yeah, possibly.
Definitely a better lighting setup than my loosely hung Christmas lights. So, question number 2. Where would you find the gateway to heaven in Starman Comics?
Oh, okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, in Starman Comics.
Where? I'm
going to
just
start
curious.
asking people that. I'm just going to walk up to people and ask them that.
What's the one true religion? Real quick. This is Starman.
Doug Luck, I think, was the only decent pairing that Cypher was ever in.
Yeah, that's a takedown.
You get the.
No, but I agree with that. How is that
Hey, you tried to rib him. It's a good ribbing.
No, it's not. Doug Luck was a great pairing. It's fine. You can take it away. But I think Warlock and Doug, they're perfect together. I love them. Go ahead.
That's cute. Alex turned it into a compliment. Okay, great. The clue for this one is it is it's what comic book guy on The Simpsons is often wearing.
Ooh, whoa.
So the gateway to heaven in Starman Comics.
Oh, okay. I think I know the answer to this one.
Yeah.
Kevin, any idea?
I'm going to take a guess.
Mm-hmm.
You can do this. Go, Kevin, go. Should we give a countdown timer?
Oh, well, he can answer when he wants.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got to go to bed at some point.
What? Where is Brooklyn?
That is not correct. What are you asking?
I don't know why I phrased that in the form of a question.
That was an odd framing, but but no, I'm sorry, that is not correct.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, Kevin, you can try again next week if you like. Great try. Definitely look up the answer to that one. But thank you for coming on. You are awesome.
Nice to see you, Kev.
Nice to see you.
All right. You were right. Those questions are hard, Justin.
Well, they are. I mean, you're reading the comic. You got to know the comic.
All right.
Yours were in a different language, and Pete's were also very difficult.
Yeah, mine were tough.
Yeah, that is true. Now, Kevin also did have a question. What are your favorite legacy characters or other cases where the legacy was better than the original? What do you think? Any ideas about that one?
What does that mean?
Legacy characters, like when
how there
Nightwing took over Batman.
Yeah, or there are multiple.
Like what'd you say? You guys were both talking at once.
Oh wow! Now we're not. Now neither of us are talking.
Yeah. Go ahead, Justin.
Like the Flash is a legacy character because there are different iterations of the Flash.
Okay, all right, that makes sense.
So we're saying the original was overtaken by a better version in the legacy.
I mean, I think that's a good example. I like Wally West better than Barry Allen personally. I think part of that is because those were the stories that I read that really got me into the Flash, the Jeff Johns run on it. And then when eventually Barry Allen came back, I was like, oh man, I like Wally better.
Yeah.
But I think that's one example. I also think like Bucky was maybe a better Captain America.
Maybe. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a hot take. I mean, those stories were definitely good, really good, interesting. But I sort of credit that to Ed Brubaker.
Someone Ben the Border Collie said Jane Foster or Thor, which I agree with. But also for me, Damian is my favorite Robin. So
really,
Damian's your favorite Robin.
Yeah. I thought you didn't like Damian.
Well, I didn't for a while, but then when he kind of became good, I feel like Batman won him over. I felt like that was a better arc as far as the Robins were concerned.
What about you, Justin? Do you have a favorite legacy character?
I'm going to throw it to Kyle Rayner, Green Lantern, as I prefer him to Hal Jordan as the Green Lantern.
Wow.
Excellent. Good answer. Let's go into the next one. This is from First Hand Up Guy, Sean R. What's everyone's drink of choice during Comic Book Club besides Mountain Dew Code Red Extreme Triple XL? I mean, we kind of covered, Justin, your drink. I'll just say I'm drinking some nice tea this evening. That's it. In my Comic Book Club mode.
Are you all right?
Too exciting. Yeah, I'm fine. I've had a little scratch for a while, so it's fine. It's all good.
Don't you fucking die on us, Alvin.
If I do, it'll be in the middle of a podcast, so don't worry. Pete, what about you? What are you drinking? What gross stuff are you putting in your body?
Yeah, just, I'm just a Mountain Dewing it up. You know what I mean? Just love me some dew.
We know exactly what you mean. No one won't know what you mean when you say that.
Excellent. We got one here from Edward Doherty. Question: I'm a teacher who is working from home at this very moment. I told a class full of year 10 kids to continue with their assignments while I do something important. So I guess my question is, who is the worst teacher in comics? Edward, that's amazing. I think you should let your students watch our show because you'll probably learn a thing or two here.
Useful information.
I don't know if that's true.
Worst teacher in comics. Any thoughts?
That's a good one. Well, I got to say, the people in the Red Room who were instructing Black Widow weren't great. Not great.
I mean, they did a good job. They
did a job with the ballet stuff.
Sure.
But maybe not the rest of it. Raising or teaching a whole look at education is a holistic look is not great from the Red Room.
Kurt Connors is pretty bad. He's constantly turning into a lizard monster and killing people and eating his own son. That's not a great teacher.
Yeah, not a good look.
Yeah. Pete, you got one? Bad teachers? Cameron Diaz, maybe?
I was going to say Cyclops. When Wolverine and Cyclops split up, and then Cyclops was kind of running his old school, and Wolverine was running his old school. Wolverine was a great teacher, but Cyclops blows. So that's what I would say.
Nice.
And you would say Wolverine's a great teacher?
Great teacher.
Great
One
teacher.
Of the best.
Let's move over to YouTube for a second. We have a question here from JPeeler999. What's the best comic reading platform to use right now? We've definitely been discussing this in the past couple of shows because you can't get to the comic book shop, and certainly comic books, as we not hinted or intimated, but as most of you probably know, are pretty much stopped, at least in the United States, starting with tomorrow, with Wednesday when we're taping this, because Diamond has shut down. They're not going to be delivering comics anymore. And in order to support the comic book retailers, most of the major publishers have decided to not release content during this time, either digitally or otherwise. There's a couple of exceptions. Archie Comics, for example, already had stuff that was at comic book shops, so they're going to be selling those 2 titles digitally as well. DC has a couple of digital titles that were going to be going out digitally anyway, so they're still putting them out. And I'm forgetting exactly which publishers. I think it's Dark Horse and maybe IDW are going to be releasing art books. And that's it, which I didn't quite understand, or OGN's larger books. So regardless, to get back to the question, digital platforms, again, we've covered it before on the show, but is there any you found yourselves using in the past couple of weeks?
Comixology.
Yeah, Comixology. But I got to say the interface where you can't really buy the comics on your iPad is annoying. It is find that to be, I just can't believe that's the way it works.
Yeah. It's also a little hard the way that things are organized on there. Like they don't have an easy to find new release list, even on a regular week. And clicking through and finding things like, just to give a little tease for our stack this week, since there's not a lot of comic books, we're doing a couple of new titles that are coming out. This will go up Wednesday at 9 a.m. And then we're planning on doing a couple of legacy books, just older books that we really liked. And Pete sent an email being like, hey, here's the title I want to choose, just this one comic. Except for some reason it linked to the entire collection, which was $20 instead of $2. So some weirdness there. It's still, in terms of number of books and in terms of any book that you want to get from almost any publisher, it's your best choice. But I've used DC Universe a bit, and it's actually not bad.
Yeah, that's I'm always been a paper guy, so I've never really bought comics digitally until like literally this week on a regular basis. So I'm gonna have to experiment and see what's up.
Yeah.
Hey, let us know how that goes, man.
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. But definitely, I think they're going to see a huge uptick over the next couple of weeks. This is from Ben, the Border Collie. Who's your favorite character on Doom Patrol TV show, and why is it Danny the Street? That's almost the correct thing. I would actually say Negative Man, Matt Bomer's character. Um, his arc is so good on that show and so powerful, and it does intertwine with what's going on at Danny the Street. If you've never watched Doom Patrol, definitely check it out. That's a great binge to do right now. Pete, I know you the show. Who's your favorite character?
There's a lot of great characters on that show. It's kind of hard to pick just one. I really like the cockroach guy and but even like the main characters were very enjoyable. Like fucking Brandon Fraser, killed it as that character, and also the kind of multiple lady who had all the different personalities was really great. I just was really impressed with a lot of creativity in that show. You can't go wrong with it.
I guess I'll go with Dr. Doom, who I'm assuming is in charge of Doom Patrol.
Yes, of course, and Mrs. Patrol, his wife.
Yeah. Dr. and Mrs. Patrol.
I got another question from over on YouTube. Aris910 says, have you had any interactions with comic creators that were unusual? I think it's fair to say we've had a couple of unusual comic creator interactions. Any we feel comfortable talking about? I know we've told a lot of these stories on the show before.
I mean, I wouldn't talk about ones where they made it uncomfortable, but there are plenty we could talk about where we were the ones that made it uncomfortable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure, yeah.
I could talk about my Colleen Coover small favors thing.
Yes, sure.
Sure. So this was the last day of San Diego. We had done, I don't even know how many interviews, and hadn't slept for days at that point.
I will say I'll chime in whenever I have a comment on this particular story, because I was there the entire time.
And I felt completely cracked out, like to the point where I could not string phrases together, was wandering around, felt like I was in a daze, just almost hallucinating at that point on the last
Would you
day.
say sort of your under real personality came throughout the crack in the mask?
I mean, that's not how I'd phrase it necessarily, but sure. I mean, if you want to say it that way. But we went to Otter Alley and looking for stuff to get, and I was like, oh, let's go by Colleen Coover's table. Got up there, and she had the second volume, I think, of Small Favors, which is her porny comic. It's one of the first comics she did. It is legit like porn comics, but it's very good, very funny. I really like the first volume a lot. And we were chatting with her, and I kind of looked over at Small Favors, and she was like, do you want something? And I was like, because I didn't know what else to say and just pointed at it. And it was very embarrassing. I was very embarrassed. I still think
you were like a teenager. You were me too. You were like Alex. So just I'll lay out a little topography here. She has a wide table in Artist Alley, and off to one side is this book on a little rack that says Small Favors. And Alex is she's like, oh, do you want this? And Alex is like, mm-hmm. And she's like, in her head, she's like, oh, that's a pornographic comic. And Alex is just smiling and nodding and laughing. Alex is like a kid buying condoms for the first time.
Absolutely. And, like if she had other things there, I'd be like, yeah, just this pack of gum and like this lighter over here, and if I could just get some peanuts and
the porno comic, please.
Copy Small Favors. Copy Small Favors, and also another lighter. That would be great. Oh, and this toilet paper. Thanks.
Great comic.
Pete, you were there. You don't remember this? I think you were there, right?
I think it was just you and
I was.
Was it just the two of us?
I don't think people was there.
Barely. I mean, that wasn't embarrassing. You just, we're a little clump. That's all. I mean, I've gotten into full-on arguments with writers and artists in the middle of Artist Alley.
I would say that's more embarrassing interactions for me and Justin than it is necessarily.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Sorry. Oh, yeah. Yeah, for you, that's super embarrassing.
I wouldn't say super embarrassing, but just like, got to see that coming. Well, there was a time you smoked weed and wore the hat of what's his name, Kyle Baker.
Baker, yeah.
Why is that embarrassing? That was awesome.
Yeah, it was funny.
They weird interactions. I would consider that a weird interaction. And of course, the story we always tell when I told Jim Lee that he was the king of San Diego.
Yes.
At like 3 a.m. at a party in his hotel room.
Yes. And he was walking from one side of the hotel room to another to talk to somebody, and you just tapped him on the shoulder like, hey, you're the king of San Diego. And his look was like,
who the fuck let this guy in?
Yeah, I don't know who this is.
And I shouldn't have asked if he had any pornographic comics for sale.
Yeah, exactly.
He did, though, which was weird. All right, this is from Bilal. What post-apocalyptic comics would you guys recommend reading? I'm enjoying Punisher: The End, and I'm looking for some more stories. I feel like we've covered a couple of them. I'll throw out Hulk: Future Imperfect is one of my favorite stories of all time by Peter David. That is a awesome post-apocalyptic story. Introduced the Maestro, the evil Hulk from the future. Super good. Really creeped me out as a kid. Definitely check that out. Do you guys have any answers for this one?
Yeah. What's the one where it's like the Wolverine comes out of the Hulk's stomach? What was that one? That was like the post-apocalyptic
Old Man Logan.
Old Man Logan. Thank you. Yeah.
I was gonna say I've been looking at remember when DC did Elseworlds annuals for 1 year? Guess what years? I want to say like 2002 or maybe it was the late 90s. But there were a lot of post-apocalyptic stories where it was the DC heroes trying to figure shit out, and there were a lot of great, interesting stories there.
We had someone mentioned Why the Last Man in comments. That's also a great one. Selvin, I got a question from Twitter when you get a chance.
Oh, yeah, no problem. Why don't you chime in with it right now? Let's do it.
Chime it in.
Okay, it comes from @JoeCrack. What's everyone's favorite Batman costume version from the comics? And no comics of BTAS don't count.
Good call.
Favorite Batman animated or live action, or
I think favorite Batman comic costume, and not including the animated series.
Gotcha.
For me, it's Jim Lee drawing Batman with all the pouches and the combat boots.
You're talking Hush style?
Yeah, Hush style. Yeah.
I like the where the insignia is the giant black no embellishment costume, sort of the more basic. I don't think that's year one, but it's one of the more basic year costumes.
I mean, this might be more with the art, but either Greg Capullo or Lee Bermejo both did really great, just more tactical takes on the Batman costume, which is not usually my favorite because it gets a little busy, but I think both of them did such a good job of making it look so realistic in a certain way, while it, I don't know, but while not feeling like the pictures say we've seen of the Robert Pattinson Batman, where it's like, oh, maybe the bat's made out of the gun that killed his parents. I don't know. That feels like a step too much for me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You think that's too much?
Maybe
melting a gun down and making the Batman costume like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Greg Capullo specifically does a great job of having the tactical side while not having it be too busy. Without being, it's like all these like extra little knobs and shit.
Yeah, a couple of shout outs for the comics here. Rebirth, classic Neil Adams, also a great choice. 2970s utility belt, where pocket is a self-tap. Dark Knight Returns.
I bet he means 1970s, unless he's from the future.
Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah, Batman Inc. was a fun one, too.
That absolutely was. Over on YouTube again, Nelson Martinez. Speaking of drinks, what's the best beverage of choice to partner with a garbage plate? We'll get to that one in a second. Second part is also, I heard Fables brought up before. Never read the comic, but played the video game, which I loved. And if you guys play it by any chance, The Wolf Among Us was the title. Great game. That was awesome. That was from Telltale Games, which sadly shut down. Did the Walking Dead game, which is, I don't know if I'd play it right now, but one of the best video games of all time. Like, it's phenomenal and absolutely emotionally crushing. But Wolf Among Us, less so. It's just a good noir mystery. But Fables is great. It's so good.
Yeah, great.
And that's a great one to just like binge read now because there's tons of issues. Go right into reading Jack of Fables, which is also one of my favorite titles. And it's just,
love that.
It's messed up and funny in the right way.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
But drink to pair with the garbage plate. Now that have to be like just leaving like a salad dressing in the sun until it becomes alcoholic and then drink it, right? You have to drink garbage to eat garbage, right?
Well, it's I mean, the perfect drink to pair with it is a light beer. Or you want to do like a vodka soda or something like that where it's not too heavy. You need it to kind of like in between the shoveling in your mouth. You need a little something to help wash it down.
So you would say, I was just going to ask if the perfect drink with a garbage plate is another garbage plate, but in a glass.
Yeah, blend it up.
Blend it up. I mean, I would drink it, but.
How many years were you a garbage plate sommelier?
It was early on, so I would say it was like 4 or 5 years.
Nice. And
45 years.
Which light beers are you talking about? Like, describe some of the effervescent flavors of the light beers.
Well, you don't want something too fruity. You want something a little bit more hoppy, a little bit more weedy. You don't want it. You don't want anything that's going to overtake the palate. You want to keep it light. You want to taste the garbage. You want to taste the garbage. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, that's a question here from Comic Book Poser. The realm of new to me. Are there any books that everyone recommends that you think aren't worth the hype?
Wow.
Ooh, I don't know about that. I don't feel like we go in. What, Pete?
He's asking us to pick a fight with somebody.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. We honestly, we tend to, as much as possible, avoid talking about books just because people are talking about them. I think mostly we want to talk about things and we want to read things that we like or are interested in. And certainly, full disclosure, at this point with everything going on, most of the comics I read are the comics that we review on the show, and I don't have a lot of time to read books other than that. So mostly when we're picking those books, it's either I know Pete likes it or Justin likes it or I like it. So there's definitely something to like in there. So not to avoid answering your question, but I think if
what was that comic that made you quit reading comics for a little bit?
Oh, that was Secret Wars.
Secret Wars. Secret Wars. The new Secret. Yeah, Secret Wars.
Yes.
That would really.
That's my answer. Secret Wars. I got
go back and listen to that episode. Alex has a full-on rant breakdown.
That was so
if you
great.
Want to talk about, you know what? Good story of getting embarrassed in front of a creator. Fred Van Lente was on that show, and I remember looking back at him and seeing his face after I yelled for 10 solid minutes, being like, yikes.
I'm associated with you psychopaths. Yeah. I got to agree with a couple of people in the comments. Old Man Logan, I think, is overhyped and not my favorite comic.
Fuck you and fuck the person who said that in the comments.
Wow. Pete, you usually are a supporter of the comments. I also say a lot, don't read Watchmen until you've read other comics. I think it's a mistake that Watchmen gets recommended as you want to try comics? Try Watchmen, because it's not meant to be that. It's meant to be sort of a breakdown, a commentary on the comic book industry and superheroes in general. I think you get so much more out of it if you've read comics before you read Watchmen.
All right, there we go. Next one from Omnia Soul. I'm rewatching Mr. Robot, and I think Sam Esmail would write an amazing comic book if he ever took a shot at it. What other directors or showrunners would you all like to see create a comic, or what title would you like them to write on? Sam Esmail is a great choice to write a comic. I feel like
Iron Man.
That's
give Sam Esmail an Iron Man book.
Mm-hmm. I feel like he would make it about Iron Man's company mostly. Just in some sort of conspiracy thing going on there, and Iron Man wouldn't show up, but that would be great.
He wouldn't show up at all.
He wouldn't show up at all. Are there other showrunners though that you want to see write a comic book?
100%. The first one that comes to mind is Noah Hawley, who obviously did Legion, but
that would be great.
Just a great creator who has a great understanding of visual storytelling. Putting him on a book with a killer artist that could really like Chris Bachalo, or someone who could really expand out the panels and have this great storyline on X-Men, or even a big Justice League, Noah Hawley's Justice League, or something that's a little more focused like a Swamp Thing or something like that, where it's all about the internal character.
Sorry, there's a comment here from First Hand Up Guy over on Crowdcast. Is this true? Because I do not remember this all, but he says, also on the episode with Alex's Secret Wars round, a German man raised his hand and then just insulted the movie Boyhood.
Wow. That makes me want to go listen to that.
Yeah, I kind of want to go back and listen to it again.
What a time capsule that episode was.
Amazing. A couple of quick questions. Let's rip through as many of these as we can do. Edward Doherty question: why doesn't Pablo think of a question before he is given the microphone? I don't know. He's just trying to help.
Yeah, he's just trying to be a good audience member.
Exactly.
That's nice.
Thank you.
But I will applaud that you noticed that, because
Yes,
we do know that too.
Yes. First hand up guy says, did any of you read the Batman Cataclysm Contagion event? How far are we from a no man's land situation? I think we're pretty far off from that, right, New Yorkers? No bridges are going to be blown up?
Well, let's see what happens. The way that people talk about New York on cable news in the last 4 or 5 days is starting to get fucked up.
Yeah,
it's not cool. But I mean,
I get it. Some people don't like New York City, but the way it's talked about is just people live there. What are you doing?
I will say we live in, as Brooklynites, we're Bloodhaven residents.
Hold on. Can we point out that Pete has been out of the city for 2 weeks in Philly, and he's already said people live there. He's already checked out in his mind. You're not a New Yorker anymore. You're from Philly.
You can't take that from me.
Yeah,
motherfucker, I've been there since 99.
You are 90% cheesesteaks and calzones at this point.
Exactly.
Well, that might be true, but that doesn't. You can't take that away from me.
That's the Philly calzone talking. It's influence your thinking.
Here's a
turning
question
your brain into a calzone.
Here's a question from Sleepy Pigeon. JT, are you in an unfinished basement with Christmas lights?
Yes, that's a very good call. I'm at this is my basement, and I hung up Christmas lights so it wasn't just a dark pit. But behind me, you can see that's my workbench, and that's a costume where I played a credit card as a character once.
What do you got? The Joe versus Volcano? You could show us.
It's on the other side of the room, so it'll take me a minute, but I do have it. Maybe I'll set next episode. I'll set that up behind me so it's visible. Joe versus Volcano, obviously my favorite movie. A massive poster that was gifted to me when I was in college.
Aaron wants to know where the puke machine is.
Oh, we don't have time to talk about that.
You have time to talk about the puke machine.
We don't have time to talk about that. Instead, from JMC Hammer, any thoughts on Gabriel Rodriguez's tweet today about the new Lock and Key script? Well, I'd recommend you give a listen to Lock and Key Unlocked, the last episode where we talked to Gabriel Rodriguez, and he did actually talk about this a bunch. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, if I'm getting any of the details wrong, but he tweeted he's finally gotten a script from Joe Hill for I'm blanking the exact name, but it's In the Pale something. And this is the first of a two-part Golden Age story that's going to wrap up their Golden Age books, which are sort of not out of continuity, but out of time. They don't take place in the same time period as the main Lock and Key story. And they are going to very sneakily set up the Sandman Lock and Key crossover. Were there any details that I missed there?
No, that's 100% correct. And I mean, just the way he was teased, the way he talked about that with us, and then days later teases us with the script was great. It's the title of it is In Pale Battalions Go.
There it is. Yeah. Very excited to see that. He also urged people to stay as patient as possible because obviously it's going to take a while. Cool. We got a couple other quick ones to run through. Rencles says, since everybody, including the characters in the comic, are hating the new Tim Drake costume, am I the only one who thinks he should go back to the pre-New 52 Red Robin costume? What do you think about that?
Yeah. Red Robin as a character I thought was cool. He was the Robin that sort of went a different way and was trying to balance having a regular life with all the superheroics, and I like that about him. So yeah, get back to the classic Red Robin.
Excellent. From Jay Sinison, would Catwoman be buddies with the Tiger King? I don't think so.
No way, man. Catwoman would murder the Tiger King. Yeah.
But I don't think she'd be buddies with Carol Baskin either, not to get too deep into Tiger King talk.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think she would take all three of those assholes down.
Yeah. Absolutely. And all of the people associated with them.
Except for the one-arm lady. She was awesome.
Yes.
Cool. And I think we have time probably for one more question here. Again, from First Hand Up Guy. On the flip side, what are some good comic runs in a more fantasy setting that would be good to tear into now? Or what are some classic must-read Marvel DC runs to catch up on now? Don't say the Korvac saga, please. Oh, man, my one answer that I
The
always
Korvac
give.
saga, I think, is only 3 annuals. Like, it's not super long.
Yeah, and it's pretty fucked up if you read it now. So yes, don't read the Korvac saga. Classic Marvel DC runs that we haven't already covered. Any suggestions?
Classic. It's hard to think about the word classic.
I mean,
if you want to get into something like if you're a fan of Hickman's X-Men, Hickman's Fantastic Four run was great, just as deep and full of mythology, and getting into his was it Illuminati? Was that the name of the title that he also wrote and sort of spun out of that? Like that was great too.
Two that I think of offhand. One, George Press's Wonder Woman run is great. Just like absolutely beautiful, but also just like really good if you never quite gotten Wonder Woman. Just a real nice basic mythology based thing to check out. I think is really good. And also, Justin, you were texting about this earlier, but Chris Claremont X-Men is I think a good one as well.
Yeah.
Like get caught up on those. I was looking through some of my old books and like Dark Phoenix Saga, real good. All of those books for the Chris Claremont one, just very, very good and good checking out. Pete, you have any answers there?
Well, the only thing that I'm really coming up with is the Guardians of the Galaxy run that we liked recently with Rocket Raccoon being sick was really, really enjoyable. I had a great time on that, and that's the only thing that I would like really recommend to people. That it's coming to my head right now.
I would throw out the Age of Apocalypse as a good X-Men crossover as well. Something that you could really dive into. I'm trying to think of some other more fantasy-based comics. I mean, I talk about Bone on here a lot. It's great fantasy title that's like pretty lighthearted at the start and sort of eases into the fantasy elements.
Saga's not classic, but it's amazing.
A couple of quick suggestions from the comments, both on YouTube and Crowdcast here. Early Mike Grell, Green Arrow, Ollie and Dinah owning the flower shop is a classic. Mike Grell, Warlord, Whedon's Astonishing X-Men and BKV's Runaways. Chris Claremont's Nightcrawler ongoing he did a few years ago was really good. And Kaman D, Dan Jurgens Thor, all great answers. You know what? We have two quick questions here. I think we can slam through them from First Stand Up Guy as well. Is Red Robin your favorite superhero who is named for a family casual restaurant? No, the answer is Taco Bell.
I would say TJ's Big Boy is my favorite superhero.
Yes, exactly.
Hey guys, that's a big boy.
Yeah. And last one from Joe Crack. If Daken beats Punisher in his upcoming death match in my video game, should I remake Punisher into Frankencastle? What do you think, Pete?
No, and stop playing with my goddamn emotions.
No, I think that's part of the game. You unlock Frankencastle like he was unlocked in our hearts many years ago.
Yeah, I think actually that's a good segue to mention, Pete. We did try to get you a present for Tommy Boy Day that didn't quite work out. We tried to get you a cameo from Julie Warner from Tommy Boy. Yeah, we did. And unfortunately, she didn't pick up on it. She didn't do it. But we were going to have her say one of the classic phrases from Tommy Boy and also compliment garbage plates and drop something about Frankencastle. But it did not work out. So I'm really sorry about that. And I really apologize, Pete.
We really put some time into it.
Yeah.
Oh, guys, you're the sweetest.
Yeah, anytime. Now we are going to move on to our next section with trivia. And for that, I'm going to turn it over to Pete LePage. Unfortunately, we can only do it with folks who are here on Crowdcast, not on YouTube. But oh my God, we already had somebody right on it. Pete, are you okay with this First Stand Up Guy?
Wait, I see someone says me. That's the First Stand Up Guy.
That's what I'm saying. Me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, me. Yeah. Let's invite me in there.
Oh, okay. Bilal, are you okay
Bilal
to come on screen? I'm going to pull you in. If so, you ready?
Yeah,
all right. Hold on.
Enter the stream.
I'm going to enter the stream. Yes, I know you got to be super quick. I guess what we're doing is literally whoever says it as soon as I end audience questions. But Bilal has been invited, is getting pulled into the stream here, so should be any second now.
And now, Pete, you can also say, like, it doesn't have to be the first. There should be a timing thing, too. You don't want to have people jumping the gun. Hey,
Hello.
Hey, what's up, guys?
How are
Welcome,
you? Thanks
sir.
for jumping
Welcome.
in. I'm going to turn it over to Pete LePage here for a little trivia. And if you get it right, we're going to send you a $25 gift card to Midtown Comics. We'll see what happens, but just I'll explain what will happen afterwards. Pete, take it away.
All right. Well, first off, sweet tea, man. I really like that T-shirt. That's fantastic.
Sweet artwork behind you. And I love when we move to trivia because you get to see Pete's full ceiling fan behind him. Great.
I'm sorry for first hand up guy who I thought was going to be the winner. But okay, so today's trivia is on topical comic news. Hopefully not for the last time. I'm going to read
it real hard for you in a week, Pete.
Yeah, I know.
Topical comic news.
So nothing going on, just a bunch of Robin Williams movies.
Yep. So I'm going to read you a question, listen to all three possible answers, get all three questions right. $25 will be yours in the form of a gift card to Midtown Comics. All right, so here we go. What will now read you Marvel Project Mind Stories, if you ask? Is it A, Alexa, B, your uncle if you buy him beer, or is it C, Vin Diesel? So it's either A, Alexa, or it's B or C.
I'll go with Alexa.
Alexa is correct. You can now ask Alexa to read you comic book stories.
Wow.
Marvel set that up. Pretty
the
crazy.
Effort out of the game, huh?
Hey man, he was nice enough to join us in the stream here. All right, don't take shots.
I'm talking about Alexa reading comics to you.
Oh,
I'm not talking about the trivia you're doing. Also, I think we're all used to you giving hints at this point, right?
Oh, well, I know. I was surprised that you took a shot at that. All right, here we go. Question number 2. Masks for America was helped launch by comic creator Eduardo Miranda Rodriguez to send masks to Corona hotspots. But what actor is also spreading the word? Is it A, Neil Patrick Harris, B, Mark Ruffalo, or is it C, Bradley Whitford? So it's either A would be cool if it was true, or it's B, Mark Ruffalo.
It's going to go with Ruffalo.
Yes, that is right. Mark Ruffalo helping us out with that. Last question. What comic-based TV show just got renewed for season 2?
Oh.
Is it A, Lock and Key, B, Tiger King, or is it C, Robert De Niro? So it's either A if you would like $25, or you could be wrong.
No, we'll go with Lock and Key.
Yeah,
that's right. Woo. I don't know if we'll ever get to see it, but I'm excited about it.
Eventually.
Congratulations. So you just won a $25 online gift card to Midtown Comics. All you need to do is email comicbookclublive@gmail.com with your name, your address, and your email, and we will get that right off to you. And you can be enjoying some online comics that'll be sent directly to you. You don't need to leave your house or anything. Thank you so much for coming in, Bilal.
Yeah,
congratulations.
Man, thank you. Thanks, guys.
Congrats.
All right. There we go.
Nice.
Good trivia. Now, as we all know, tomorrow is New Comic Book Day.
Wait, I didn't get to do.
Right.
The second time you've done that to me.
I'm so sorry. This being at home thing is really throwing me.
I'm sorry, but the next show started 10 minutes ago in the theater, so we have to really crank this up.
Yeah, we got to wrap this up.
Kevin,
we also apologize.
Carrie...
There's a lot of stuff going on in the comments here. We did jump ahead of actual first-hand up guy is his username. Pete, do you want to make as the star of trivia? I would say. Do you want to make?
Why you put a question mark after that?
Oh, the star of trivia. Do you want to make a ruling on if somebody uses the name first hand up guy? Are they first hand up guy and therefore the person who should do trivia, or how does this work?
Well, that's the thing. We had to wait until the section for you were like, okay, who wants to volunteer to do it? Yes, he is first hand up guy, and he has been commenting, but when we asked, okay, who wants to do it, first hand up guy wasn't there. And I was rooting for him. I was hoping he would be first stand up guy because that's a great name that he put. But unfortunately, the timing of it or or whatever. It didn't work out.
Just think about it. He's lived his entire life as Mr. Up guy. His parents obviously cruelly naming him firsthand. Is Mr.
What's
Mrs.
his
Up
middle
guy.
name? What's his middle name? That's what
now keep in mind, I think the person who is first Up guy is friend/enemy, a friend of the show, enemy of Pete, Nat Townsend.
No way.
I
think
that
is
you
correct.
just doxed him. You just doxed first up guy. Oh my god!
No, he admitted it in the comments. So I think it's very funny that you sort of psychically punched him in the gut by not selecting him, even though he was clearly a first up guy.
Oh man.
Oh my gosh. Well,
sorry,
getting back
Nat.
to this important Robin Williams quiz. What were your third answers here, Pete?
So it's Vin Diesel,
Sure.
Bradley Whitford, and then
Great.
Robert De Niro. And Kevin was correct. He's called it's Awakenings.
Oh, great. That's great.
Vin Diesel uncredited, but he's in there.
Yeah. Now, as we said, normally we recommend you go to your comic book shop or go to your digital comic book shop. Obviously, things are pretty much shut down. But I think I could read off, maybe a way of doing this is I could read off what we're going to be doing for the stack. So people, if they want to read ahead, if they want to prep, if they want to know about it.
Because there are such a limited number of comics coming out tomorrow that these can basically be our picks.
Right. And I think what we're going to do, we talked about this a little bit for the foreseeable future, is we are going to do legacy picks. We are going to drill down on stuff. So at least tomorrow, the new titles that are coming out, we're going to have a review for Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Something Wicked, #1, Batman, The Adventures Continue, #1, Cosmo, the Mighty Martian, #5, and then our throwback stack is one shots that we each particularly liked a bit. So I'm very excited to talk about them. Pete's pick was Batwoman #4. I picked Spider-Man Human Torch #3. And Justin picked Green Lantern Sinestro Corps Special #1. So those are the ones we're going to talk about. And I'll give you a little other preview just because some people have been really odd about this. So that's what we're going to do for the stack tomorrow. Next week's stack, we're going to do all about Squadron Supreme. This has been often requested, particularly from one of our last guests before everything got shut down. Hurricane Helms came on the show.
Was he the last
Maybe.
guest?
I think it was the last one we might have done as a solo show. Do we have Nat on? Nat, were you on?
I
don't remember. I've
lost we had Langston. We had Langston. I think it went Nat, Hurricane, Langston.
Right, there you go.
No, it says Nat says he was last.
Really? Okay, there we go. Well, whatever it was, it's been a long time. But we're going to be doing those
last hand down guy. Last hand down
and
guy.
Then we're going to do Squadron Supreme the week after that. If you want to read ahead, if you want to get prepped, we'll be doing that 2 stacks from now. And then as long as we are shut down, as long as comics aren't coming out, we're going to aim to do a bunch of legacy titles like that. We've already gotten a bunch of awesome suggestions from you all. So very excited to plumb back into the archives as we talk about these things. That all said, a couple of things before we go. We are going to be doing the show live to the internet every Tuesday at 7 p.m., both the Crowdcast and YouTube. So we hope you'll join us one of those two places. If you want to support the show, patreon.com/comic book club, iTunes, Android, Spotify, Stitcher, or the app of your choice to subscribe to the show and listen. If you are on iTunes in particular, please leave us a comment. Those help us a lot. comicbookclublive.com for this podcast and many more. And tell you what, we'll see you next week right here online.
Please, someone rescue me from this fucking basement.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.